black Baptist preacher. How many of us knew that? I know you knew that, family member. A black Baptist preacher, and this man used the church. He used the church that was segregated, that alienated black people, said black people can't sit in the primary gallery but had to go upstairs and worship God from upstairs. And he had the belief that said this: the same God that I'm praying to can't be the same God that my masters are praying to. They're praying to keep me in bondage. I'm praying to liberate myself and my people from bondage. And so I think that the message of Nat Turner should penetrate even the churches today, the black churches today. The black church structure has always been a rallying ground for our people since the days of the plantation. And we don't see that today. And to some degree we do, but not to the degree and magnitude that we should. And so I want to use this little couple minutes to encourage us and to encourage those who may be watching this on a later date. If you go to church, ask your preacher to start some type of a Nat Turner forum in the church. He did it then, we can do it now. And I think we should, because as the brother said, we are not free, and we still have a fight on our hands. So I just thank y'all again for this. Let's remember this brother in proper context, in proper perspective. Study him, learn him, whatever piece from him that you personally can draw on. Draw that piece and execute. Your lane may not be picking up the gun, and I'm not advocating that right now, just to clear the air. Right? But yes, sir, Baba. Yes, but whatever piece of him that you can take from him, whether it's the preaching part, whether it's the organizing part, whatever part, learn from him and take something from him and march on with it. Peace, Hotep. Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. Ariq, get the NEWARK Anti-Violence Coalition a hand. Get him a hand. And I just want to say, somebody save me a poster, because I want Blair to autograph my poster, and I want Queen Mother to autograph my poster. I want y'all's autograph before you leave today. There's so much that we need to learn about the Nat Turner Rebellion, so I hope when people leave here today, you will go and study and learn. Like one of the books, of course, there's the Nat Turner narrative itself that I urge people to read. And there are many books on Nat Turner that people should read. It's so important that we study and that we continue. At this point, I want to invite Brother Zaid. You have any poetry, brother? Brother Zaid, you have any poetry you want to share with us? Give Brother Zaid a big hand. Give Brother Zaid a big hand. All power to the people, everybody. All power to the people. I don't have a poem, but just a few things. This is Black August. For anybody that does not know what that is, today is also the anniversary of the slaying of George Jackson. I mentioned him in the libation. George Jackson was the field marshal for the Black Panther Party in San Quentin and was an incredible writer who really didn't see the light of day since he was 19 years old. His Soledad, Brother, Letters from Prison, and His Blood in My Eye are classics of that period. And right in the stream of literature that comes from our slave narratives, right through the autobiography of Malcolm X, right on to Asada's autobiography, and then some. It was a very important piece of literature. But what is Black August? Black August was inspired by George, his life and his death, and inspired also by the death of his brother, Jonathan Jackson, who on August 7th, and y'all want to know why when y'all go into court, y'all got to go through all those elaborate searches and empty out your pockets and your watches and all of that? You have to thank Jonathan Jackson for that, because on August 7th, he went into a courtroom
In this tradition, in an armed extraction mission to try and secure the freedom of some of his comrades that were the Soledad brothers, because they did not see that happening through the courts. It was a failed mission, but it was a bold, courageous mission that ain't nobody apologizing for. Because if you want your freedom, and sometimes you got to roll like that. And even though some of us now might make it through on the armed front, it may pave the way for others to pick it up on down the line. Nat Turner didn't make it all the way through. He was captured, he was executed. And what they did to his body in spectacle fashion went beyond lynching. Okay? But he continued to inspire our ancestors who were still in captivity to continue to fight and to be ready, to get ready to fight when necessary, by any means necessary. So the thing that Black August addresses is this. First, the supreme violent character of our oppression. Every obscene thing you can think of to do to a human being was done to our ancestors institutionally for several hundred years, a colossal crime against humanity.
That's right.
The second is that if force of arms was used to inflict that abuse, then we have every right, even a responsibility, to, if necessary, use force of arms to end that oppression. So we don't just celebrate Nat Turner for his individual example. We said Nat Turner, we celebrate him for representing our right to fight for our freedom at any means and by any means. Now there's some practical applications in this post-bellum place that we are now. I told you in the libation that George's life and death also inspired the beginning of the modern prison justice movement. Just weeks after his assassination and murder in San Quentin, there was the epic Attica uprising. We're just a few weeks from observing that anniversary. And there were uprisings like that in prisons all over the country as a result of that, and that made the U.S. prison structure began to treat our people in a way that they did not want to treat our people for a little while.
Yeah.
Now things are going back the other way. You need to be clear on that too.
Yeah.
But that's what Nat Turner inspired. That's what George Jackson inspired. And then the other piece is this, is that by virtue of the kind of stands that George and Jonathan took belonging to an organization like the Black Panther Party, let us remember that the Black Panther Party became the #1 threat to the internal security of the United States in the aftermath of the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King, and COINTELPRO was used to destroy that organization and to destroy the fabric of our very movement. And one of the consequences of that is that we have comrades who have been in prison for as long as that time that I'm talking about. I just handed all of you some cards for an event that we're doing this Sunday to honor 4 actually, sets of Black August political prisoners. Mutulu Shakur, Dr. Mutulu Shakur, the stepfather of Tupac Shakur, the most famous cub of the Black Panther Party, has been in prison since 1986. That's 32 years. And he's the one that's got the shortest history in prison. The Move 9, 2 have died in prison. Debbie Africa was just released, but it was August 8th, 1978 that they were first vamped on before the bomb was dropped on them in 1985. Their political prisoners have been locked up for 40 years. Some of y'all ain't even seen 40. But imagine having your loved ones locked up for 40 years. And then this whole thing called environmental justice out now, right? They were the pioneers of that.
That's right.
They're the ones who are talking about the decontamination of our water and our air and our land. That was them.
Teach them, brother.
And they got savagely abused by the police in Philadelphia over that. In American terms, they're pioneers. They are treated like criminals because our movement has forever been criminalized.
That's right.
Then there's Russell Maroon Schultz. For those of y'all that don't know what maroon means, maroon is that black man and woman that's willing to go into the swamps, go undercover any kind of way, right? Do all the dirty, grimy, necessary things to wage armed struggle. And that's Nat Turner was a Maroon. You understand? Russell Maroon Schultz scared the state of Pennsylvania to death. One of the boldest black men to come out of the Philadelphia chapter of the Black Panther Party. His armed forces actually attacked police stations in Philadelphia. Yeah, they did. If the police were attacking us, they gave them a taste of their own medicine. Been in prison since 1975, done about 38 of those years in solitary confinement until 2 years ago. He will be 75 years old on August 23rd. He's a Maroon, born in Black August. Now the context of this gathering that I organized on the 23rd was supposed to be for Sundiata Acoli. Y'all better remember this name, because we're going to stoke it up in a minute. Who was Sundiata? Sundiata was a Sada's co-defendant. Exit 9 on the Turnpike, May 2nd, 1973. Profile in New Jersey State Police. This is where it comes from. Right here in Jersey. Michael, right on. You dead on, Queen Mother. Right, it comes from right here in the 1920s. A scared racist cop started the shooting. Sada is shot. Zaid is killed. One of theirs gets killed, and Sundiata was the only survivor that wasn't as badly injured as he was. He has been in prison for 45 years. 81 years old. And let me tell you something about Sundiata, and I'll wind up. There's this thing in struggle called class suicide, right? When folks who have the privilege of education and access to the finer things of life, but are willing to give those things up for the people's struggle. Malcolm's famous lecture, Message to the Grassroots, he talks about our astronauts. This is a Negro out of his mind. They won't let you anywhere near the NASA planet, and they're talking about our astronauts. Y'all remember the movie Hidden Figures? Those are brilliant black women who were recruited by NASA for their genius. Well, Sundiata Acoli was one of those hidden figures. A math wizard out of Prairie View University was recruited by NASA. Sundiata walked away from all of that. In the summer of 1964, to answer the drum of Freedom Summer, to engage himself in struggle. And when he saw because he went to Mississippi from Texas, and he saw how crackers get down in Mississippi. I'm not gonna bite my tongue. I said he saw how crackers get down in Mississippi, and he saw there were limitations to nonviolence. And he ultimately found himself in the arms of the Black Panther Party. And I dare say that everybody makes a big fuss out of Assata, right? But the Sundiata was the one who had these incredible security clearances, if you understand what that means. And they wanted him out of circulation in the worst way. They did not want that kind of talent, that kind of person with that kind of access, that kind of brilliance, and that kind of commitment on our side at that level. Now, I've always believed that he was the principal target of what happened on that night.
You probably were.
So, I'm saying that to say that Sundiata was just brought back to Trenton for the first time in decades. He is at Trenton State Prison. If you look at that flyer I gave you, there's addresses of several of our political prisoners there. I want you to write Sundiata. And if you don't know what to say, well, I don't know what to say to a political prisoner, brothers, just say thank you. You know, folks come back from the army bombing up people all over the world. They say thank you for your service. We need to thank our freedom fighters for this. So just say thank you. You have no idea what that means to them. But more than that, there's some practical stuff coming, getting ready to go down. Now, I know I don't sound like a Baptist preacher going off the way I do, but I try to engage relationships with them because we need them. Sundiata has been denied parole even after being approved by a panel of federal judges several years ago, but has been denied parole several times with 20 and 10-year hits every time he comes up for parole, right? So we are trying to come up with a campaign, and after I talked about all this violence and all this armed struggle, now I'm talking about something Nice.
Balance it out.
It's called Clergy for Sundiata. No, listen, it's called Clergy for Sundiata. And then if any of y'all have any ministers or churches or mosques that have a social justice dimension or prison justice dimension or prison ministry, please, let's talk. Because we're trying to get 45 clergy to come out for Sundiata's release on humanitarian grounds and on the fact that he has done all of the things that you're supposed to do to comport with the parole process, right? And in the interest of what is humanitarian and the fact that he is an aging man, he's certainly no threat to anyone at 81 years old, he ought to be released on humanitarian grounds. There are several in the area who've already, Queen Mother. Queen Mother's one of the first signatories for the clergy campaign, right? Y'all don't know the Queen Mother's clergy, right? She's one of the first. Imam Talib in New York, I gotta think. This was only a handful right now, but we're just beginning to do the outreach for that. But when this reaches a critical mass, and we start, publicly doing things in Sundiata's name, we're going to hear all the vile stuff that's going to come through the press, cop killer, terrorists, and all of that kind of stuff. And I need y'all to say, look, y'all need to tell a real story and the real history. Yeah. And after all these years, if we can't have an honest discussion about what was wrong in this country then and what's wrong in this country now about race, the problem is not Sundiata, the problem is you.
Yeah, all right.
You dig? Yeah. We need folks to stand up like that. And I'm not telling you to stand up like Nat did, or like George did, or like Sundiata did. Yet. I saved that for the young folks.
Plant that seed.
Because we do need another generation who may need to take that charge.
Oh, yeah.
But listen, folks, honoring our ancestors is serious business. So I leave with this. Where is Brenda? You were with me. Sandra's not here, and I wish she was. We spent several incredible days together with the Amistad Institute's, Amistad Commission Summer Institute. The key to all this, in the end, over several generations, is education. For all of its problems and all of its backwardness and all of its gangster and racist legacy, New Jersey, quiet as it's kept, has a commission